MOSAIC, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
One suicide bomber succeeded tonight, ending the 5 months of peace by striking inside Israel itself. 2 people were killed and 20 were injured in the bombing near the entrance of the Sharon mall. Israel is getting a painful reminder 1 month before the disengagement. Here is Sharon Menashe with the report.
At around 6:30, an explosion was heard near the entrance of Sharon Mall. There were many wounded as ambulances continue to speed towards the location. The police report that more than 30 people were wounded and are surrounded by dead bodies. This mall, once the center of a similar attack 4 years ago, is once again a place of mayhem. The street was filled with a crowd of people who had just finished their shopping on this hot summer day. The Islamic Jihad took responsibility immediately and published the name of the bomber who came from the village near Tulkarem. Within minutes, the police closed the roads leading to the mall, and police are attempting to identify the car that drove the bomber to the location. Also, a helicopter is in the air trying to help. Hospitals have taken away all the wounded, 6 of them very badly wounded, and 31 others who are slightly injured.
And now to hear the latest, we will ask our police reporter Moshe Nussbaum. What do you know?
This bomber wanted to go inside the Sharon Mall and release the explosion there. Luckily, he was stopped about 15 meters away from the entrance, and thus less damage was caused. This is practically the same place where 5 people were killed about 4 years ago. The police have assessed that the explosives used were not too large and that the attack was supposed to take place inside the mall. Of course, had it happened inside the mall, many more would have been hurt.
We want to come back to you later. We are going back to the reporter, Erez Rotem. Erez, are they looking now for the person who drove the bomber to the mall?
This is exactly what the police are doing right now. It is possible that they have already arrested one suspect, but we cannot confirm that information. The police are currently investigating whether or not this was a coordinated attack. At 5 o'clock, a yellow car which was stolen entered the Shavei Shamron settlement with a suicide bomber and explosives in the car. Then he exploded himself in the middle of the settlement, but no one got hurt, except for the bomber himself, who was badly wounded. These 2 incidents happened within 1 hour, so one can tie the 2 bombings together. This is exactly where the bomber exploded himself, and the police are checking into who the driver was.
A suspected Palestinian suicide bomber has killed himself and at least 2 people at a shopping mall in the coastal city of Netanya. Police said 2 passers-by died and about 40 other people were injured, some seriously, in the attack this evening at the entrance to the shopping center in Netanya, 40 kilometers north of Tel Aviv. Israel Army radio said shoppers were trying to prevent the bomber from getting inside when he detonated his explosives. Ambulances and police rushed to the scene and sealed off the area where a similar attack occurred in 2001. The Islamic Jihad group, which has defied a 5-month-old truce, claimed responsibility for the Netanya blast. The Palestinian Authority condemned the bombing and urged Palestinian factions to obey the truce. Jibril Lerjoub, a security aide to Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, said those acts only cause harm to Palestinian unity and serve the right wing in Israel. The Israeli government urged the Palestinian Authority to rein in Palestinian organizations, while Palestinian Cabinet Minister Ghassan al-Khatib said Israel's crackdown had hamstrung the Palestinian Authority's efforts.
that with terrorist organizations, whether you're talking about Islamic Jihad, whether you're talking about Hamas, and this attack was conducted by Islamic Jihad, with these organizations, you don't talk, you don't sign agreements, you fight them. And this effort by the Palestinian Authority and Abu Mazen to strike a deal with these terrorist attacks, with these terrorist organizations, resulted in such attacks.
The Palestinian Authority has been clear in trying to prevent all kind of Palestinian violence against the Israelis. And the Palestinian Authority will continue to make 100% efforts to try to be up to its commitment in terms of ceasefire. However, the insistence on behalf of Israel to continue with the expansion of settlements, especially in the West Bank, and the continuance of the building of the wall on the Palestinian land and all its consequences, political, human and economic, is making the task of the Palestinian Authority controlling the Palestinian side a little bit more difficult.
The White House also condemned what it called a heinous attack. An Israeli official said the bombing in the coastal town and an explosion in a vehicle that entered a Jewish settlement in the occupied West Bank earlier in the day appeared to be coordinated attacks. The explosion at Shevi Shamron settlement in the northern West Bank killed the driver of the vehicle, whose identity was not immediately clear. Israel's Prime Minister Ariel Sharon seeks his cabinet's approval for an Egyptian security force to be deployed along Egypt's border with Gaza after an Israeli pullout from the occupied territory. Preparations for the Gaza withdrawal scheduled in mid-August topped the agenda as the Palestinian cabinet met in Gaza. The meeting, headed by Prime Minister Ahmed Qrea, focused on the number of forces to be deployed after the Israeli pullout and the Palestinian Authority's efforts to end the chaos of arms and lawlessness. Under an Israeli security blueprint for the Gaza-Egypt frontier, 750 Egyptian border police would take up positions to stop arms smuggling to Palestinian activists in the Gaza Strip. Israeli troops would remain along the Gaza-Egypt frontier until at least the end of the year, when Israel would examine the effectiveness of the Egyptian force. Meanwhile, Israel's army chief warned his troops he would take tough action against any soldier disobeying orders to evacuate Jewish settlers from Gaza. Israeli troops and Hezbollah gunmen exchanged fire on the Israeli-Lebanon border. There was no word of casualties in the clash on the western sector of the frontier. Iraq's Prime Minister Ibrahim al-Jafari has defended the presence of U.S. troops on Iraqi soil, telling Parliament they would not remain forever. But he said a withdrawal should not be dictated by insurgent attacks on them. In the latest attacks, gunmen killed 6 people in 2 incidents, including 1 Interior Ministry official and a human rights charity worker. At least 3 civilians were killed and 15 others were wounded when a car bomb exploded next to a U.S. and Iraqi joint military convoy in the northern city of Kirkuk. In another incident, police said an Interior Ministry official was gunned down by insurgents in central Baghdad. Colonel Amr Moser was an official at the Major Crimes Investigation Unit. His driver was wounded in the attack. Meanwhile, Baghdad's water system, ravaged by war, has left some of the population without fresh water, and as a result, many are forced to drink water that has been polluted. According to health officials, typhoid and hepatitis type A are running rampant through Sadr city this summer as residents rely heavily on a sewage-tainted water supply and summer temperatures of 45 degrees. Iraqi hospitals report a sharp increase in children who were hospitalized after drinking water in Baghdad.
British anti-terror police announced that the London attacks were carried out by 4 individuals. In a press conference, police confirmed that 2 of the perpetrators may have been killed, and that the investigation into the identity of the other suspects will continue. The police requested that people refrain from blaming any particular group for the London attacks, since the perpetrators are criminal extremists. After issuing 6 arrest warrants, the police raided several houses in West Yorkshire and arrested 1 person. In another related development, Britain requested that the European Union implement a plan to counter terrorism by collecting and sharing information databases. Most likely, 4 suicide bombers carried out the London attacks. According to police, the investigation into the London underground bombing probe is complex, but is proceeding rather quickly. 3 of the bombers came from West Yorkshire, and police are investigating whether all of them were killed in the operation.
We now know that all 4 of these men...
We all know that these 4 men came aboard a train on the morning of July 7th at 8:30 a.m. The suspects were identified from closed-circuit television in King's Cross Station.
Most likely, one of the suspects was killed in the train while it was traveling between Oldgate and Liverpool stations. According to the police, the identification of the body of one of the perpetrators has led the police to carry out a home raid operation in West Yorkshire, where they arrested 1 man. The home raids that were planned and executed by the British intelligence and the anti-terrorism police in West Yorkshire covered 6 homes, 5 of which were in different areas, including Leeds, which has the largest Muslim population in Britain. During the raid, the police carried out a controlled explosion in a neighborhood in Leeds after evacuating more than 500 residents. The controlled explosion was conducted to enter a home suspected of containing explosives. Later on, it turned out that the home was vacant. The police also sealed off an area in the Beeston district and confiscated a car that was parked in front of one home. In London, the police confiscated another car that was parked in a parking lot in the Lawton area, believed to be linked to the explosions. The police evacuated the nearby station as a precautionary measure. Meanwhile, the British Foreign Minister, Jack Straw, urged the European Union to speed up the process of passing a security law that allows the police to collect statements acquired through different means of communication. He said that there will be a cost when it comes to civilian rights, but the human costs will be even greater if Europe does not move quickly to stop further attacks.
Maybe some cost.
There will be some cost, but it is the price we have to pay to protect human life. Terrorism hit Europe last Thursday, but the victims were from many nationalities, from the European Union and from the rest of the world. All of us could become the victims of terrorism, and I hope the European Parliament takes notice of that.
Britain undermined a call to establish new European institutions. Rather, it wants governments within the European Union to facilitate the exchange of intelligence information and increase cooperation in the fight against terrorism.
The British Defence Minister John Reid criticised the Mail on Sunday newspaper for its report regarding the contents of a secret British document concerning the reduction of the number of US and British troops in Iraq. The Defence Minister further elaborated that there is a British plan for withdrawal, but it is only to be used in case of emergency. It contains alternative choices to initiate while preparing the Iraqi forces to take control of the security situation. The spokesman for the U.S. Department of Defense denied any information regarding any expected timetable for troop withdrawal, and also denied all the information in the British document. The talk about the reduction of US and British troops in Iraq is increasingly gaining momentum as time passes. Pressure has also been building up on the US administration and the British government for their policies in Iraq, and from time to time, some documents have leaked out which point in that direction. This time, it was one of the British newspapers that reported a secret document belonging to the British ministry. The document contains a plan for the reduction of US and British troops in Iraq. The number of troops will be reduced to more than 50% by the middle of next year. According to the British document, London will reduce its troops from 8,500 to 3,000 soldiers in the middle of the next year. The British government justified such a reduction by claiming that London has the responsibility of turning over sovereignty to the Iraqi Authority in 2 of the 4 municipalities in northern Iraq in 3 months. The document further disclosed the U.S. intention to reduce the number of American troops from 140,000 to 66,000 by the beginning of the year 2006. The American Occupation Authority will also hand over 14 out of 18 municipalities within a few months to the Iraqi government. John Reed confirmed the accuracy of the document, but criticized the newspaper for disclosing its contents. Reed further denied any decisions being made regarding the future of the United Kingdom in Iraq, pointing out that they do intend to transfer responsibility over to the Iraqis in the near future. A Pentagon spokesman commented cautiously on the document and denied the setting of any timetable for the American withdrawal from Iraq. The spokesman also denied any knowledge of the British document. Some observers were not surprised by the comments made by the spokesman because it is coming from a senior American official in the Department of Defense. There are some arrangements being made between the US and Britain for the withdrawal due to the substantial increase of casualties among coalition troops and the increase of military spending, and also due to pressure from the Congress on the White House. Furthermore, loosening the grip over the security situation in Iraq and the increase of the security threats against the US led to the decline of President Bush's popularity, as the latest polls have shown. Some senior Iraqi officials hinted that getting the Iraqi army and police forces ready to take control could take a long time. Iraqi Defense Minister Saadoun al-Delimi previously announced that an American withdrawal at this time will complicate things even further.
In London, the British Islamic Center and numerous Islamic organizations in the area have received threats via email. These come as reactions to the bombings that shook London. Consequently, the Muslim community fears being the object of backlash from these incidents.
After the impact of the explosions that shook London, life is gradually getting back to normal. However, the remnants of shock and confusion continue to be expressed on the faces of people in the streets. The fear of using public transportation is evident in the prevailing cautiousness, despite the sense of calm. Of course, the Muslim community, which at any moment could be the target of extremist backlash, is also very cautious.
I do not think that the Muslims in London or other British cities, but especially in London, are going to be subjected to harm. It is possible that there might be isolated events by extremists and racists.
Our cameraman went to 3 places that Muslims visit daily, and especially on Friday.
Just like we reject anyone who would kill us, we reject anyone, whether they are among us or not, who would kill any innocent person. Muslims have been living here for a long time in complete freedom. Nobody is harassing or bothering us.
Meanwhile, prominent leaders of the Muslim community began to play their role in leading this important segment of the British population. In a press conference that took place at the Islamic Cultural Center in London, the director expressed condemnation of these bombings. And in his answer to the questions of Al on television, the spokesman stressed the important role the Muslim community plays in society and the responsibilities that fall upon it.
The community must have serious plans, jointly with the government and independently, to build bridges and a deeper understanding. Our big responsibility in the future is to have plans and programs to make this a reality.
Another mosque where the Friday prayers take place was distinguished by the police car parked outside. Worshippers confirmed to us that the security agencies sent a patrol unit to guard this area.
Our message to the Muslims is for them to have piety for God the Most High and not bring forth another situation like what happened.
What is guaranteed is that the bombings have begun a new chapter in the lives of Muslims in this country. However, it is unclear how this new chapter will look. The London explosions have left many questions unanswered, most of which may become clear over the following days. The bigger challenge facing Britain now is how to pass this stage while maintaining the unity and harmony among its citizens. Abdel Fattah Abu Hakaz, Al Alam Television, London.
Defense Minister Ilyas Al-Mur was wounded in a powerful bomb blast this morning in the Nakkash region, close to Antilles and north of the capital. The bomb that targeted Mur's motorcade has resulted in a number of fatalities and injuries, but no exact count has yet been made. Damascus roundly condemned this latest fatal car bombing, saying such terrorist acts were aimed at bringing chaos to the country. The official Sana agency quoted an information minister official as saying that Syria considered this terrorist act as one link in a series of explosions and assassinations aimed at destabilizing Lebanon and weakening its national unity. The official extended Syria's well wishes for a speedy recovery to Ilyas Al-Mur. Sarah Khouri has the latest developments.
Police told AFP that this morning's blast was caused by a car parked on the road usually taken by Defense Minister Ilyas Al-Mur. Mur was driving from his home in a car at the end of his convoy that included a military vehicle. Ilyas Mur was slightly wounded in the blast on the Nakkash road leading to Rabia, north of the capital. The mid-morning blast reverberated across the Lebanese capital. The son-in-law of President Emil Lahoud was taken to Sirhal Hospital, where an employee said his condition was good. AFP reported that at least 2 people were killed, while security sources said some 12 people were wounded. But no official number of casualties or injuries have yet been reported. A number of political figures have made their way to visit the hospital where Mur was taken immediately following the blast. Lahoud visited Mur in the hospital, making it the first time Lahoud visits any victims of the bomb blasts. MP Saad Rafiq Hariri was also amongst the prominent visitors at the Sirhal hospital. This latest blast comes as Lebanon's Prime Minister-designate Fouad Siniora pressed on with talks to form new coalition partners after the opposition's victory in parliamentary elections. Lebanon has seen a string of bombings that killed or wounded leading anti-Syrian figures, starting with the February 14th assassination of former Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri and MP Basil Fleihan. Hariri's murder triggered a massive popular uprising, along with international pressure, helped pave the way for the withdrawal of Syrian troops that was completed at the end of April. Today's explosion, whose cause has not been determined, comes after anti-Damascus politician George Howie was killed in a Beirut bomb blast in mid-June, in the latest of a string of bloody attacks in the country. Howie's murder came less than 3 weeks after anti-Syrian journalist Samir Kassir was killed when a bomb exploded under his car in Beirut in an attack blamed on the pro-Syrian regime and widely condemned at home and abroad.
Back-to-back consultations were being held to end an ordeal on the Lebanese-Syrian border, where hundreds of trucks carrying goods out of Lebanon were being held up. Authorities in Syria denied the hold-ups were politically motivated. Kinda Shai reports.
The head of the Lebanese Farmers Association, Ibrahim Tarshishi, said some 500 trucks have been stranded at border checkpoints, costing Lebanon $1.5 million in lost trade. The tightening of security drills in the past few days has virtually halted all truck movement into Syria, the latest sign of growing tension between the two neighbors since Damascus ended its 29-year military presence in Lebanon in April. Syria, which withdrew its troops from its tiny neighbor under Lebanese and international pressure, said the inspections were needed to prevent weapons from entering the country. Outgoing Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati said he had a telephone conversation on Monday with Syrian Prime Minister Naji al-Utari, and the Syrians had promised to ease traffic at the borders soon. Elections that ended on June 19th returned an anti-Syrian majority to parliament for the first time since Lebanon's 1975 to 1990 civil war. Anti-Syrian Prime Minister-designate Fouad Siniora is set to announce a new government shortly. For his part, the Secretary General of the Lebanese Syrian Council, Nasri Khouri, who met designated Premier Fouad Siniora, stressed that the Syrian measures were for security reasons and not political. Khouri stressed those measures would not be abolished but softened. The West Bekaa Future Bloc deplored the loss of agricultural goods. The Progressive Socialist Party stressed in a statement the border blockades was equivalent to, quote, economical sanctions imposed by a brotherly country. The group stressed a new phase in Lebanese-Syrian ties has started. The PSP said this new chapter in bilateral ties consisted of negative, worrisome aspects. The queue of lorries stretched across the 12 kilometers of no man's land between the Masna'a and Jtaidat Yabous crossing points on the main road between Beirut and Damascus, an AFP correspondent reported. Syrian authorities have said that the tailback is due to increased security measures and trade, while many Lebanese claim they are being punished after having recently shaken off the yoke of decades of Syrian domination. Syria's Customs Director General said the delays were also linked to work being carried out at the border crossing. A Syrian official rejected accusations that the delays were punishment after Syrian armed forces were forced to leave in the country in April, after an almost 3-decade presence. Lebanese business groups say they are losing $300,000 a day as a result of the slow processing of goods at the frontier. Trade between the two countries was valued at $400 million in 2004, with Lebanon exporting goods worth $145 million to Syria in the same year.
The Security Council reported that the leader of a UN international investigation into the killing of former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafiq al-Hariri has written to Israel, Syria and Jordan, asking for assistance into the probe. The acting U.S. ambassador to the UN, Ann Patterson, said she presumed the request was for any information they had available, such as people who might have crossed borders from Lebanon's 3 neighbors. Veteran German prosecutor Detlef Mehlis, who arrived in Beirut last month to investigate the murder of former Premier Rafiq al-Hariri by a car bomb, had 3 months to complete his work under a UN Security Council resolution authorizing the investigation. But if he finds he needs more time, the Council can grant him an extra 3 months. Patterson said that Mehlis has organized a team of about 30 experts from his own country, the Netherlands and Britain to assist in the inquiry. The Security Council ordered an outside inquiry in April after a UN fact-finding mission led by Irish Deputy Police Commissioner Peter Fitzgerald concluded that Lebanon's own inquiry into Hariri's killing had serious flaws and could not reach a credible conclusion. The head of the dominant Palestinian Fatah movement claimed that the late Palestinian president, Yasser Arafat, was fatally poisoned by Israel. Exiled Fatah chairman Farouk Kadami told reporters that he could categorically confirm Arafat was poisoned. Arafat, long the public face of the Palestinian struggle for statehood, was declared dead in a French military hospital on the outskirts of Paris on November 11, 2004. He had been treated there for 2 weeks. France's strict medical secrecy laws mean that the exact cause of Arafat's death has not been made public, but his nephew has received a copy of his medical file. Fueled by the ambiguity surrounding his death, many ordinary Palestinians are convinced that Arafat's death at the age of 75 was far from natural. Kaddoumi, who succeeded Arafat as head of the Fatah movement, said that Arafat's personal physician for more than 20 years asserted Arafat presented the symptoms of poisoning. He added that the Palestinian health minister had visited Tunisia to meet with doctors who had examined Arafat prior to his transfer to Paris. Those doctors had been rushed to Arafat's bedside as his health suddenly plunged in late October 2004. But since then, they have kept their silence on their finding. Arafat's medical records were handing over to the Palestinian Authority, which has set up a special committee of doctors to study the details.
The views expressed on Mosaic are not those of Link TV or its sponsors, but of the broadcasters themselves. Mosaic is made possible by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, which promotes journalism excellence worldwide and invests in the vitality of 26 U.S. communities, and the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Additional support is provided by the Firedoll Foundation and Henry and Virgilia Dakin.